to my channel. Today we are going to learn about step functions, AWS Step Functions, and in my next video we are going to do a hands-on practice. We will learn how to use it together. So if you like this video, don't forget to click on thumbs up and subscribe and follow my next video as well. AWS Step Function is Amazon tool for automating business steps in application. We are going to learn about benefits of step functions and how can we use to automate the process. We are going to learn how step functions is used, define the problem that step function solves, identify the benefits of step functions, describe how step functions is used for architect a solution, identify typical use case for step functions, explain additional aspects of step functions to keep in mind. We are going to talk about the pricing of step functions. Step function is serverless function orchestrator that can use to sequence AWS Lambda functions for multiple AWS services into business-critical applications. Step functions is a low-code visual workflow service that developers use to build distributed applications, automate IT business processes, and build machine learning pipelines. You can use step functions to coordinate individual tasks into a visual workflows so that you can build and update applications quickly. These workflows can be orchestrated to allow for failures, retries, parallelization, service integrations, and observability so developers can focus on higher value business logic. You can even change the add steps without writing code so you can evolve your application and innovate faster. Step Functions Workflow Studio. Step Functions provide a graphical console, Workflow Studio, to arrange and visualize the components of your application as a series of steps. You can use the console to build and run multiple step applications. Step Functions automatically invokes and tracks each step and retrieves when errors occur so that your application runs in order and as expected. Step Functions logs our state of each step and maintain an overarching history view of any data that moves through it. The effect is that if things don't go as expected, problems can be diagnosed quickly. You can use step functions to create and automate your own state machines within AWS environment. To achieve that functionality, step functions use JavaScript object notation based on Amazon state languages. This language contains a structure made of various states, tasks, choices, error handling, and more. State machine is an object that has a set of number of operating conditions that depend on its previous condition to determine output. A common example of state machine is a soda vending machine. The machine starts in the operating state, waiting for a transaction. After payment is received, it then moves to a soda selection state. Next enters a vending state, where soda is deployed to the customer. After completion, the state returns back to the operating state. When you create a state machine, you can select the type of either standard or express. In both cases, you define the state machine by using the Amazon state languages. Your state machine process will behave differently depending on which type that you select. The type that you choose cannot be changed after your state machine has been created. Standard workflows are ideal for long-running, durable, and auditable workflows. They can run for up to a year. You can retrieve the full execution history by using a step functions API up to 90 days after your execution completes. The standard workflows employ an at most once model where your task and state are never executed more than once unless you have specified a retrieve behavior in SL. Thus, they are suited orchestrating components, money-dependent actions such as stating at Amazon EMR cluster or processing payments. Standard workflows executions are built according to the number of state transactions that are processed. Express workflows are ideal for high volume, event processing workflows such as Internet of Things data integration, streaming data processing, and transformation, and mobile application backends. They can run for up to 5 minutes. Express workflows employ at least once mode with the possibility that execution might be run more than once. Thus, they are ideal for orchestrating idempotent actions, such as transforming input data and storing by put Amazon DynamoDB. Express workflow executions are built by the number of executions and duration of execution and the memory consumed. In step functions, you define your workflows in the Amazon state language. Amazon state language is a JSON-based structured language that is used to define the state machine, a collection of states that can work task states. It can determine which states to transition to next, choose states, stop a process with an error, fail states, and more. States are elements in your state machine. A state is referred by its name, which can be any string, must be a unique within the scope of entire state machine. Individual states can make decisions based on their input, perform actions, and pass output to other states. The state functions console provides a graphical representation of the state machine to help visualize your application logic. States can perform a variety of functions in your state machine, like do some work in your state machine, a task state, make a choice between branches to run, a choice state, stop an execution within a failure or success, a fail to success state, pass it into its output or inject some fixed data, a pass state, provide a delay for a certain amount of time or until a specific time or date, a wait state, begin parallel branches of execution, a parallel state, dynamic iterate steps, a map state, task states. A task state represents a single unit of work that a state machine performs. All work in your state machine is done by task. A task state performs work in several ways, using a Lambda function, passing parameters to API actions of other services, completing an activity, which is an application that you host or run through an activity worker. As an example, when a bakery makes a pie, the baker must complete several steps in order. Step functions works the same way. In the pie example, most of the listed items are task states are described. Work is happening each step. These steps could each represent individual Lambda functions. They could also represent interactions with one another in service or application code they can have written or hosted somewhere else. States like a choose state orchestrate tasks but do not perform work themselves. Choose rules determine what the state machine will do next. In this example, the choose state is called pie type, and the rules will directly fall to their peel apples or pit cherries as the next step. You can also specify a default option so that the path exists if the data doesn't match one of the rules. Parallel states start their branches as quickly as possible. Parallel states wait until all branches stop or complete. In this example, roll out the crust and peel apples or pit cherries come first. They must all be completed before the filling and covering the pie task can begin. If one of the tasks on the parallel state fails, the workflow will not advocate to the next step. Wait states. You can use wait states to pause processing for a specific or relative time frame. Use wait states instead of having a Lambda function. Wait for work to complete. In this example, we replace bake pie function with three items. You can use put pie in the oven function and take pie out of function with the wait state set for 30 minutes. This technique is more efficient than less costly for Lambda. If you build wait time into a Lambda function, you pay for that idle time. The cost of step function is based on the number of state transactions, not how long it takes to move from one state to another. Step functions callbacks. Use callbacks for tasks that must wait for an external action. Pass or a task token, a step function will pause until the token is returned. Alternatively, you might need the processing to pause until you get an external response. For example, you might need a human approval or a third-party system that must process your request and respond in this example. The head pie baker must approve that the pie is baked correctly. Some AWS services that are integrated with step functions can use the task token that you pass to them. Then they return the token when the work is complete. Intrigues functions. Amazon state language provides several intrigues to allow basic operations without task states. 6 are constructs that look like functions in programming languages and can be used to help payload builders process the data going to the form task resources. Intrinsics include states, format state, string to JSON, state array, and many others. What problems does step functions solve? Application development is faster and more intuitive with step functions because you can define and manage the workflow of your application independently from its business logic. Making changes to one does not affect the other. You can update and modify workflows in one place without having to struggle with managing, monitoring, and maintaining multiple point-to-point interactions. Using step function service task, you can configure your step functions workflow to call other AWS services, including the following: compute services like AWS Lambda, Amazon Elastic Container Service, Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Service, and AWS Fargate; database services like Amazon DynamoDB; messaging services like Amazon Simple Notification Service and Amazon Simple Queue Service; data processing and analytics services like Amazon Athena, AWS Batch, AWS Glue, Amazon EMR, and AWS Glue Databricks; machine learning services like Amazon SageMaker; APIs created by Amazon API Gateway. Step functions can coordinate any applications that can make an HTTPS connection, regardless of where it's hosted. For example, it could be hosted on Amazon Elastic Cloud, Compute Cloud, Amazon EC2 instances, mobile devices, or on-premises services. Using step functions, you can quickly create distributed applications that use AWS services along with your own microservices. Step functions keep the logic of your application strictly separated from the implementation of your application. You can add, move, swap, and reorder steps without having to make changes to your business logic. Through this separation of concerns, your workflow gains modularity, simplified maintenance, scalability, and code reuse. Step functions can handle errors and exceptions with built-in try-catch and retrieve whether the task takes seconds or months to complete. You can automatically retrieve failed or timed out tasks to respond differently to different types of errors. You can also recover gracefully with failing back to designed cleanup and recovery code. Learn more about step functions, error handling, how we can handle errors conditions by using a state machine. Step functions delivers real-time diagnosis and dashboards. It integrates with Amazon CloudWatch and Amazon CloudTrail and can log every job run, including overall state, failed steps, inputs, and outputs. If things go wrong, you can quickly identify not only where but why. You can quickly troubleshoot and remediate failures. Lambda also has its own logs, which can be set up to go deeper into debugging. Launching an application can just take pressing a button and then watching the steps run visually. In this way, you can quickly verify that everything is operating in order or unexpected. The console clearly highlights errors so that you can quickly pinpoint their root cause and troubleshoot issues. Step functions is health insurance portability, accountability, act eligible service. You can use it with applications that contain healthcare related information, such as personal health information. Step functions is also compliant with system and organization control measures. The results of these third-party audits are available on the AWS SOC compliance site. Step functions also can help you conform to other common compliance standards. What are the benefits of step functions? Step functions provide serverless orchestrations for modern applications. Orchestration certainly manages a workflow by breaking it into multiple steps, adding flow logic, and tracking the inputs to the outputs between the steps. Step functions help you to quickly build and deploy your workflows. You can get started quickly with the Workflow Studio, a drag-and-drop interface. Step-with-step functions, you can express complex business logic as a low-code, event-driven workflows that connect services, systems, or people within minutes. Because step functions can integrate with many other AWS services, you don't have to write as much code. Thus, you can compose AWS resources from over 200 services into resilient business workflows, data pipelines, or applications. For example, these services could include Lambda, Amazon EC2, Fargate, AWS Batch, DynamoDB, Amazon SNS, Amazon SQS, SageMaker, Amazon Eventbrite, and Amazon EMR. Functions can help you build workflows that are fault-tolerant and stateful. It manages state, checkpoints, and restarts you to make sure that your workflow runs in order as expected. Built-in try, catch, retrieve, and rollback capabilities deal with errors and exceptions automatically based on your defined business logic. You can use step functions to design reliable reliable and scalable workflows. Workflows have two types: standard or express. Standard or express that you can use depending on your specific use case. You use standard workflows to manage long-running workflows. Express workflows support high-volume event processing workloads. How step functions used to architect a cloud solutions. Take a look at example how we can use step functions. We are going to illustrate building a store checkout process by using Lambda functions for each step in this process. Check inventory and hold a product. You can use Lambda to check inventory and place a product on hold. Build a customer. Use another Lambda function to build a customer. If building does not go through the first try, it will retreat 3 times with exponential backoff. Remove the hold. Suppose that the credit card does not go through. You can introduce exception handling by adding a catch statement to remove the hold. Ship the product. If the payment is received, another Lambda function can be used to send shipping notification. Human interactions can be used with callback task patterns. Notify the customer. As soon as the product is shipped, an SNS notification can be sent to the customer informing them that their order has been shipped. What are typical use cases for step functions? Creating a bank account, orchestrate ETL process, building a machine learning pipeline. You can use step functions to implement a business process as a series of steps that make up a workflow. The individual steps in the workflow can invoke a Lambda function or container that has some business logic. They can also update a database such as DynamoDB, publish a message to a queue after that step, or entire workflow completes running. What else should you keep in mind when using step functions? Lambda considerations. Because Lambda is a service that is often used to build out step functions, you should be aware of limitations concerning Lambda. Lambda functions have a maximum runtime of 15 minutes. The TMP directory storage space, which is used to store files during the runtime of the functions, is limited to 512 megabytes. Lambda allocates CPU power in proportion to the amount of memory that is configured. Memory is the amount of memory available to the Lambda function at runtime. You can increase or decrease the memory and CPU power that is allocated to your function by using memory setting. To configure the memory for your function, set a value between 128 megabyte and 10,240 megabyte in 1 megabyte increments. A Lambda function's execution role is a AWS identity and access management role that grants the function permissions to access AWS services and resources. You provide this role when you create a function, and the Lambda assumes that the role will when your function is invoked. What are the step functions cost structure? What is the step functions cost structure? Step functions pricing is a pay-as-you-go service that no upfront cost and no minimum fee. Step functions counts a state transaction each time a step of workflow is performed. You are charged for the total number of the state transactions across all the state machines, including retries. Free tier, at the time of publishing, the free tier is available to both existing and new AWS customers indefinitely. It does not automatically expire at the end of 12 months AWS free tier term. Free tier provides 4,000 free state transactions as amount of standard workload only. After that, you are charged for each state transactions. Step functions express workloads are not covered in AWS free tier. With step functions express workloads, you are charged for the number of transaction requests in the workflow and also its duration. Step functions express workloads count a request each time and start performing a workflow. You are charged for the total number of requests across all of your workflows, including tests from the console. Duration is calculated from the time your workflow begins running until the completes the otherwise stops. So now we are going to go and do some hands-on practices, and I will see you in my next video. Please don't forget to click on thumbs up and subscribe. Bye.